Power Rangers is a show that's been around for close to 30 years so far, and in that time it's had countless stories of incredible behind the scenes events that have been repeated so many times that we don't ever question them. From ancient Die Rangers to Jack Alesker's series Bible, Skylar Delian to fired actors, sometimes these are easy to disprove and sometimes they're a little more complicated. Have you ever seen people ask this? I have. A lot, and it's been breaking my mind because it's not strictly true. You've been lied to. Would you like to know why? To understand what's happened, we need to go back. Meet Harry Pappas. He's a station owner broadcasting in Fresno and Omaha. Harry writes to Jamie Kellner, then president of Fox Broadcasting, to float the idea of a new children's network. This network would fight back against increasingly influential syndication producers who are demanding more and more control over airtime and scheduling. Harry's letter said, "The syndicators with the strong product are becoming more and more powerful, demanding more airtime and starting to tell us when we have to program their products. We as broadcasters are starting to lose our ability to program ourselves and control our own destiny. So if that's the writing on the wall, why don't we set up our own children's network, control the airtimes and control the earnings?" This idea would earn Pappas the Fox Broadcasting Outstanding Affiliate Achievement Award in 1989. In February 1990, Disney filed an antitrust suit accusing Fox and its affiliated television stations of trying to monopolise the children's TV market. Disney was powerful, aggressive and expanding. Fox's affiliates had a good reason to be concerned. Disney was also developing an afternoon block featuring shows like DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. On September 8, 1990, 2 days before the launch of the Disney afternoon, Fox and 129 affiliated stations began a new cooperative venture called the Fox Children's Network. Their new network would create original children's programming to be shown throughout the United States, airing between 3 and 5 p.m. on weekdays, whilst most other networks were still showing talk shows aimed at adult audiences. The venture was successful. Fox extended its block into Saturday mornings, competing directly with CBS, ABC and NBC. By the time that the May sweeps rolled around in 1991, the network was attracting 16% of the viewers aged 2 to 11, a 100% increase from its debut only 8 months prior. In May, Fox's Saturday morning lineup beat NBC's offering by half a ratings point. Not only did it pull in viewers, but Warner Brothers, one of the syndicators that gave rise to the concept of Fox Children's Network, even decided to pull out of the syndication market entirely, instead signing a $100 million exclusivity deal with Fox. The new deal would bring the incredibly successful Tiny Toon Adventures, Merry Melodies and the new Batman animated series to Fox in 1992. In September 1991, 1 year after launching, as its weekday and weekend time slots expanded, Fox Children's Network was rebranded as the Fox Kids Network. That same month, Fox Kids would air the original series Little Shop, an animated spin-off based on the 1986 musical film Little Shop of Horrors. This series was the first of many co-productions between Marvel Productions and a little company called Saban Entertainment. 1992 would go on to be an important year for Fox Kids. Under the leadership of President Margaret Loesch, the network would place a 13-episode order for an animated X-Men series from Saban Entertainment. Unable to deliver the project in-house, Saban subcontracted production to Graz Entertainment and animation work to ACOM. Despite production setbacks, the network premiered the first episode in October 1992 and would become Fox Kids' first big hit.
Let the games begin! Cause it's Mutant Mania at its best!
Agreed!
Join the Incredible X-Men, Saturday morning on Fox!
Loesch, looking for a new comedy action series to help Fox Kids stand out from the other networks, was shown a 1986 pilot by Saban for an adaptation of the 1984 Super Sentai series Shodenshi Bioman. Immediately on board, Loesch commissioned a new 17-minute pilot from Saban for a total of approximately $200,000, the cost split between Fox and Saban. In August 1992, Saban finalised a distribution agreement with Toei Company to license the 1992 Super Sentai series Kuro Sentai Zyuranger. Saban then began production on the pilot. The name of the new show was not fixed. Initially called Galaxy Rangers, the cast auditioned under the working title of Phantoms, which had changed to Dino Rangers by the time shooting began. Dino Rangers was tested with children who responded well to the new show. Despite reservations from Jamie Kellner, Loesch was permitted to order 40 episodes at a cost of only $15,000 per episode, and the new show, now called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, would become not only Fox Kids' biggest ever success, but one of the biggest successes in TV history. history. Production on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers began in the early months of 1993 before finally debuting its first episode in August. The response from the audience was unprecedented, and the success of the show cemented Haim Saban's position as Fox Kids' resident hitmaker. By the end of 1993, Saban had already begun to develop a movie deal based on the new show. As the money kept rolling in for Saban and Fox Kids through 1994, Lesh argued that Fox Kids' parent company News Corp should acquire Saban's company outright. So they proposed, and Saban refused. They proposed buying a stake in Saban Entertainment. Saban refused again. Instead, Saban suggested a merger of Fox Kids and Saban Entertainment. News Corp considered its options. Saban's experience with international distribution was not something News Corp shared. When Rupert Murdoch, the chairman and CEO of News Corp, asked Lesh if they could imitate Saban's distribution structure alone, Lesh responded, "In about 3 to 5 years." Years were not something News Corp had to spare, because News Corp had plans. In 1995, Saban and Fox Broadcasting entered into a new strategic alliance. The aim was to replicate Fox Kids' success by establishing kids networks worldwide under a recognizable brand name. Fox wanted to be in every major country in the world. Saban would contribute its library of over 3,500 episodes, marketing and distribution experience, whilst Fox would contribute access to its platforms, including Star TV and British Sky Broadcasting. The deal left Saban Entertainment as an independent production company, still free to sell to anyone, but on the understanding that any production made with Fox money would be carried on a Fox network. Recognizing the trend moving away from traditional time-slot blocks and towards full channels, the alliance would launch its first dedicated international channel in Murdoch's native Australia in October of 1995. Everyone was pleased with the success of the alliance. By now, Haim Saban had been able to persuade Rupert Murdoch to enter into a formal partnership rather than being absorbed into Fox Kids. But Murdoch still had his doubts. Before signing the contract, as he sat in his Beverly Hills office, Murdoch asked Lesh, "I have only one question. Can I trust Haim Saban?" And Lesh was certain. She said, "He will never stab you in the back." In September 1996, Fox Kids and Saban Entertainment were consolidating to form a single holding company that would be known as Fox Kids Networks Worldwide. Lesh would serve as chairman and CEO, overseeing all network operations, whilst Haim Saban would have the responsibility for all Saban-related operations. As 1996 rolled, Fox Kids Worldwide began plans to continue international expansion, launching its next channel in the UK and Ireland in October of that year, followed soon after by Latin America in November. Haim Saban and Margaret Lesh appeared to make an incredible team and were constantly striking gold wherever they went. As the Fox Kids international channels began to see momentum, Saban recognized that in order to compete with stations like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network in the USA, Fox Kids would need a home of its own. Saban met with Lesh and Chase Carey, new chairman and CEO of Fox Television. Saban proposed that they might approach Pat Robertson, televangelist chairman of the Christian Broadcast Network and owner of International Family Entertainment, the company who owned the Family Channel. International Family Entertainment was one of the last independent broadcasters still making money. In 1996, its crown jewel was the Family Channel, a network of family-friendly programming that, despite its content, was able to consistently increase its viewership and advertising earnings, doubling its cash flow in 3 years to $100 million. This didn't go unnoticed, and it was a prize sought after by Disney, Viacom, and Sony. If Fox Kids Worldwide could schedule its shows on the Family Channel, it would put their programming into 69 million American homes. Despite its success, Robertson doubted that IFE would have the long-term capital to compete for new programming with the larger networks, and that eventually his company would sink. The idea of a partnership was floated to Pat Robertson several times, but he wouldn't bite. Robertson's main reason for retaining the Family Channel was as a platform for his own show, The 700 Club, a Christian news magazine program which had been on the air since 1966. Saban set up a meeting with Tim Robertson, Pat's son, who is running the day-to-day operations of the Family Channel. Saban pitched the concept of a partnership where Fox would program its daytime scheduling, leaving Robertson to program primetime. Tim Robertson was interested, but aware of his father's concerns about the 700 Club. However, under the terms of IFE's ownership of the family channel was the requirement to provide airtime for the program in perpetuity, even extending to any successor organisation that might eventually acquire it. Saban's gambit paid off. The ruse of a partnership soon turned into the idea of an acquisition. In June 1997, Fox Kids Worldwide announced that it had bought International Family Entertainment for $35 a share, a total of approximately $1.9 billion. Following the announcement of the acquisition was the announcement of corporate restructuring. News Corp announced that Haim Saban, as chairman, would take a more active role in managing day-to-day operations of the company, whilst Lesh would become vice chairman, concentrating on long-term strategies. In reality, this was a demotion for Lesh. She found herself with little power and was essentially pushed to the side by Saban. Where she was once the president and working side by side with Saban, she found herself now reporting to him with no direct reports of her own. Lesh was heartbroken. I felt my role was to fight for what was right for Fox Kids. I kept arguing with them, just as I had before, and when he wanted to put some of his shows on, I would say no, because the quality wasn't there. It didn't ever occur to me not to do that. Lesh went on a 4-week vacation, and in November 1997, following several other Fox Kids executives, announced her departure from the company that she helped create. 6 months after Lesh's departure, Fox Kids Worldwide was renamed Fox Family Worldwide Incorporated, and the family channel became the Fox Family Channel. Saban, now chairman and chief executive officer, explained the reasoning behind the name change, noting in a press release, "By embracing the family designation in our corporate name and broadening the demographics, we are more accurately acknowledging our target audience and business objectives. We are creating media for kids, their teenage siblings, as well as their parents and grandparents, consumers of all ages." Fox Family was ready for the 21st century, and it wasn't just targeting kids anymore, it was targeting everyone. Saban brought in Nickelodeon veteran Rich Cronin to fill Lesh's position and revamp the network and its schedule. In August 1998, Cronin replaced aged dramas like Diagnosis Murder and Hawaii Five-0 with a variety of new acquired series and movies aimed at children for daytime and family audiences during prime time. But the long-time viewers of the Family Channel despised the changes. The over-50s audience disappeared and the ratings slumped. The audience perceived the Fox Family Channel as one just for kids, and kids did watch. But the plan to have their parents watch at night failed. Things didn't get better. In a time where Fox was suffering the pain of overpaying $1.9 billion for IFE, it then had to suffer the indignity of reporting a $53 million loss in the first half of 1998 after reporting a $40 million profit only 1 year earlier. Staff turnover continued. Tim Robertson stepped down from his duties as network advisor. IFE employees abandoned the ship. Saban, now without the guidance of Lesh, the Fox Kids executives, Robertson, or the people who knew the network and the audience, went on the offensive. Saban ordered $100 million to be spent on promotion and advertising. $125 million was set aside to produce 26 original movies. Despite this, 1999 did not improve. Cash flow fell from $143 million in 1998 to $115 million. Fox Family's ratings plunged by 30%. Fox Family Worldwide also had a $710 million bank loan. In the summer of 1999, without the funds to make repayments, the company was facing default. Saban went to Fox and managed to secure a $125 million loan at 20% interest in order to save Fox Family from bankruptcy. Murdoch was furious. The performance of Fox Family had been an embarrassing public failure. Murdoch wanted the situation fixed. Rumours abound that he would exercise a clause in the contract to acquire Saban's 49.5% stake in the company, completely buying him out and removing him from the endeavour. 2000 was no better for the company. Ratings stayed at 0.3. The channel managed to attract kids, whose demographic increased by 6%, but the important 18 to 49 demo declined by 0.6%. Only 2 years after replacing Lesh, Rich Cronin was fired in May. Tom Lucas, Senior VP of Marketing, resigned. Rick Servaitis, President of Sales, resigned. 2 more executives left before the summer. Without the executive team, Haim Saban ended up personally taking on their duties. Saban, who had experienced a meteoric rise, was now very publicly crashing back down to earth, and he wanted wanted out. Speculation in the media suggested that Saban would attempt to exercise the contractual clause to sell his stake to Murdoch. Saban knew that this clause was due to expire in December 2000 and that the window of opportunity was closing. When challenged about his intentions in May of 2000, Saban vigorously denied this. It's categorically not for sale now and not for sale ever. We are absolutely committed to making this channel work. Saban exercised his buyout clause in December 2000. Rupert Murdoch said, "We were shocked. We thought the contractual provision Saban had inserted was just a safety thing he put in if he didn't get on with us. We were disappointed because we thought he was sort of committed to it for life." But despite his words, Murdoch wasn't interested in sinking even more money into the failed endeavour. Saban used the recent flotation of Fox Kids Europe as the basis for his own personal valuation of Fox Family. A recent IPO had seen Fox Kids Europe valued at $1 billion, and Saban saw Fox Family as being worth $6 billion, including its $1 billion worth of debt. And Saban didn't want stock, he wanted cash. This was not a coincidence. Murdoch had only agreed to allow Saban to float Fox Kids Europe on the condition that Saban agreed to waive his rights to the buyout clause. Murdoch had suspected that should Fox Kids Europe receive a high valuation, then Saban would use this to inflate the value of Fox Family worldwide, forcing Murdoch to pay more. Murdoch did not agree with Saban's valuation and saw the company as being worth substantially less. Negotiations slowed until they stalled, with Saban refusing to back down from his price. Murdoch employed the services of Bear Stearns, whilst Saban utilised Morgan Stanley to come up with their own independent valuations. Both agreed that if the two valuations were less than 10% apart, then the price would be the average of the two. Fox Family was not the only problem in Murdoch's way. After failing to gain a foothold in the US satellite market with American Sky Broadcasting in the early 1990s, Murdoch had spent most of 2000 negotiating to merge his satellite assets with Hughes Electronics Corp, the owner of DirecTV. Murdoch had long desired a pay TV platform in the US, and DirecTV, as America's largest satellite network, was a tempting acquisition. DirecTV had more than 11 million subscribers, and Murdoch had more than 15 years of experience with the industry-leading British Sky Broadcasting platform. Murdoch believed that they could make satellite a viable competitor to cable in the US by bringing DirecTV into Sky Global Networks. But in order for his plan to work, News Corp needed a healthy balance sheet. Industry analysts speculated that Hughes was expected to sell for as much as $40 billion in cash and stock. For Murdoch, buying out Saban for billions in cash was simply not an option. News Corp needed to improve its balance sheet and its debt rating. Chaim Saban's demands were threatening to sink the entire deal. Rather than a buyout, Saban and Murdoch finally agreed to sell the entire company. Neither were interested in reviving its fortunes, and both had their eyes on bigger things. So they shopped the company around. It was a weird thing to try to sell. They were asking for a price in the region of $4 to $6 billion. It carried a lot of debt. It had to keep running the religious show 700 Club as stipulated in the original IFE contract. Viacom was approached, as they had been public about their interest in expanding in the cable programming area. News Corp were already interested in partnering with Viacom to run the similarly performing United Paramount network. USA networks were approached, but had no interest based on the price that was being asked. NBC were interested, AOL Time Warner, Sony, MGM, Comcast, all passed. However, there was one person who was interested, Michael Eisner from Disney. Disney had experienced many successes during the 1990s. However, they had been relegated to the sidelines as Time Warner, Viacom and News Corp expanded and grew. Disney didn't want to be left behind and had itself considered the prospect of acquiring DirecTV, Fox Family and AOL amongst many others. In April of 2001, Disney announced that it was buying Fox Family worldwide for $3.2 billion in cash, as well as the assumption of its $2.3 billion of debt. Saban had stood his ground and won again. Murdoch was off the hook for the buyout and now in a position to acquire Hughes. Fox Family Worldwide wasn't just Fox Family Channel. It had also included a majority stake in Fox Kids Europe and more than 6,500 episodes of children's television that were present in the Saban Entertainment Library. Control of Fox Family now gave Disney access to an older audience that it had with the Disney Channel or Toon Disney, putting it on an even footing with its competitors who all had general entertainment networks of their own. Disney believed that they could revitalise the failing fortunes of the poorly rated Fox Family Channel, whose primary primetime ratings had dropped in half to a 0.7 average by the time the deal was signed. Disney would leverage its ABC network content, airing some shows simultaneously on the channel with a view to increasing advertising revenue by as much as 50% within 2 years, doubling cash flow within the same time. Fox Family Worldwide had prime television real estate, not only in the US but internationally. For Disney, this was an amazing opportunity for distribution. Despite the benefits, Eisner soon began to experience buyer's remorse, suspecting that he had overpaid by as much as $1 billion. Fortunately for Eisner, since the acquisition involved operations in so many international territories, local regulatory agencies would need to be involved to approve the action. One such territory was Brazil, where, on October 1st, Fox attorneys explained that the deal would need approval from 3 separate government bodies, likely to take up to 8 months to complete. This would have taken the deal past its deadline and given Eisner the out that he needed. Chaim Saban had been a close personal friend of Bill Clinton throughout his presidency and put in a call to him immediately. Clinton contacted the president of Brazil directly, and approval was granted. But Eisner wasn't done yet. Following the events of 9/11, an alarmed public was informed of suspected anthrax attacks and a wave of panic gripped the nation. Eisner argued that this created a material change to the conditions of the agreement. Saban, undeterred, disagreed. Saban did, however, agree to a reduction in price. By the time the deal closed on the 25th of October 2001, the price had been reduced by only $100 million to $5.2 billion. This was the largest cash transaction in Hollywood history. Now, you might have noticed that the topic of selling Power Rangers hasn't been mentioned so far. That's because Saban did not simply sell Power Rangers. To make that statement is to grossly underestimate the complexity of the situation of the time. Saban's operations were completely tied up with News Corp through the Family Channel venture. There was no way either was going to acquiesce to the other, since both had much bigger long-term goals, which were being strangled by their opposite side. Saban's media library belonged to Fox Family Worldwide, and agreeing to sell Fox Family, he was saying goodbye to the library that he built. Every last second of programming was just included as one more part of a deal that already contained loads of other expensive nuggets, such as a 76% stake in Fox Kids Europe. It was the network that was the jewel. It just so happens that it was a jewel that they just couldn't shine up. It was worth a lot, but they couldn't make it work. Murdoch and Saban both needed out. It was the network that everyone wanted, and it's important to recognise that there was no distinction between the network and all 6,500 episodes in the library. They were one and the same. And it is at this point where I kind of have to admit to indulging in some slight pedantry. To say that Saban sold Power Rangers is like saying someone selling a home sold a specific individual house brick without mentioning the rest of the house. The reality is that in this world of fandom we can sometimes see no further than our own mythos, and this means that we lose sight of truths replaced by legends. It's only when we broaden our context of the era that we finally see how small a piece the show was in the larger puzzle. But what do you think? Did you already know the details of this tale? Do you disagree about the points I've made? Or are you just annoyed I made you listen right to the end for a fake out ending? Let me know in the comments below.